Welcome back. We are here again on the Thinker Facebook and YouTube Live. And as before, we mentioned that we're here with live with Imam Idifumi Pasha, Sister Marsha, and myself. And this time we're going to be moving to current events. But then, ma'am, I'd like to just talk about the political climate, our current political climate. Recently we heard some disturbing news about our good brother that has been affiliated with us, Benjamin Biden, I think, a lieutenant governor.
Yes, lieutenant governor, yeah.
He got a little, he's been accused of what it is, mismanagement of funds or getting funds by other means than what he was supposed to get the funds put him into position. What are we supposed to make of it? Because we know the guy's character being honorable and somewhat decent, so it looks as if it's and I'm pretty sure other politicians have done worse. So it seems as if it's targeted to him, targeted against him, purposefully. We'll just comment on it. At least, we don't know all the details, but it has to be addressed.
Yes. Well, praise be to God. Yes, Brian Benjamin, lieutenant governor, if I remember her, I think he just stepped down from the position because he's been charged with some form of mismanagement of funds or receiving funds in a manner when you're running for elections that you cannot do. In terms of, I think it was when he was running for controller, if I remember correctly. And they require you matching funds and what have you. And he had some folks, which all politicians do, have folks they bring in to help them manage that, and they have to trust them. Not blind trust, they have to check to themselves, but they bring people in to help them be able to raise the money that's necessary, unfortunately, for running for office. And I think they had charged the person he had hired to help him in raising monies, charged that person with doing this kind of thing for several politicians, but he was doing something illegal, falsifying documents or information. And when I think of it, I think about it in terms of taxes. And you go to an accountant to file your taxes for you because the way the tax codes are, you can't even do it by yourself no more. You got to go hire somebody who's a professional. And if you're in business or want to even engage government in business in any kind of way, government wants an audit tax report, and therefore you have to go to a audit tax company in order for them to do that. Even though you've given them the information, they still have to formulate it to meet those forms and etc. that government wants from you. And I'm saying this because what happens with that, if they look at your tax situation and the government says there's something wrong, they want to come and get you, not the person who did the taxes for you. The person who did the taxes for you, they hold him or her harmless, and they stand by and say, well, I only put together the information you gave me. But I gave you the information I had because I didn't know how to put it in the format that the government wants. You're the one with the skill and the license to do that. And let's look at that person. I can show you what I gave him. Why can't we look at the one who prepared my taxes and charge him? Because I gave his information, I gave him, this is exactly what I did. Now I gave it over to him, and he finagled it some kind of way and told me, oh no, you don't owe no taxes no more. They gotta give you back $5,000. And sure, I'm gonna have a happy face. Oh good, I get back $5,000. But then the government come back later and said, oh no, we charge you with embezzling or taking the money. What are you talking about? Where's my CPA? Bring him or her in here. And the CPA is saying, well, that shouldn't be. There should be an obligation for that CPA too, that if I'm giving information, there should be information that you should get verification for that I'm giving to you, and that if you put the CPA online or also in that category, the government probably will get more taxes that it would get not holding the CPA accountable. Okay, and I think our former president Donald Trump is having that same issue, and several other people. So I'm liking that to Brian Benjamin in terms of, and others who hire outside entities who promote themselves as being to help you win elections, showing you how to raise money and etc. That here they do something incorrect, and even when with back to the tax person, when they send me back they show us, we did your tax things, here's your stuff, and I look at it, it's even then hard for me to cipher what they did. You know, I say I had a gross amount of money of $100,000 that I had that I worked for, and here's the gross. Now they break it all down in all the different categories, this, that, the other. Now I'm not sure, and they tell you to sign it, and because you signed it because it wasn't there. But I don't have the skill. If I had the skills to do it, I wouldn't need you. So I have to trust you, CPA, that your skills knows what you're doing. So therefore, I'm signing this. I'm looking at it. But if you start asking me to interpret it, it's not my field. It's yours. So there should not be a situation to where the signature on it and the person who's earned the money and given it to a CPA to do it, if something's wrong, the CPA still should be part of being accountable for it. They should not be able to walk away scot-free and say, well, I only did what they gave me information on. You should have verified the information I gave you, so that you putting your license on the line, it'd be a different story. So I'm likening it to, I don't know the details as you said, with this person who assisted so many candidates with raising monies and what have you, that person has been charged, and now that person is turning on everybody else, it seems like to me, to keep himself out of jail for what he did, unbeknowing and unable for the candidate to really cipher through what's being done. All right, so sorry to hear about his circumstance. Yes, I believe him to be a good person, always been a hard worker in the political field trying to help, and it was a great happiness for all of us that he was chosen as lieutenant governor. But we also applaud his strength that other than hurt his candidate, the governor, who's also who's got to still run again, that he stepped down immediately. That shows, again, as you said, his character. That no, let me step away from this because it will be used against her, and I'm not going to have that, and I'll deal with this. And as they always do, you'll find out that the person who he hired to do this stuff will what they call plead out something so he don't go to jail because they got him on all the daggone things, and say, well, give us somebody else, and will testify against Brian and somebody else and wind up trying to get them locked up rather than, and that's wrong for the government in terms of, no, you got the person who did this. He did the daggone foul. He did the set. He kept the records and what have you. Then you should have him and him only, period, and not what's the name. Brian. So I hope that after it's all said and done, that he will be found innocent and maybe should have looked a little closer. But who said he had the knowledge to even look a little closer? You know, how much knowledge you got to look closer at your tax things? You can look at them, and most people, when they say you're getting a refund, you stop looking and say, oh, good. You know, let me sign this. So he's saying this, listen, we got this money, we made our goal to be able to pay for these ads and everything else. You say, oh, good, let's go, you know, kind of thing. Unfortunately, with him, though, running for the position of controller, they're going to put a little more pressure because that position of controller was one that you needed to be mathematically, economically astute to be able to do this. So he's going to have a little difficult. But we'll keep him in our prayers, you know, and pray to God that it will come out as a plus for him, his family, and that he'll be cleared. And if his errors and mistakes that he has to deal with, then he shouldn't be going to jail. Pay the fine, pay the difference. And I think he did do something like that when they brought it to attention. I think he paid back whatever that money was. And some of these bigger politicians, I remember some of the ones for presidents and other things, they had some of the same circumstances. They allowed them to pay the penalty for the money that shouldn't have been, and that was it. So why make his, you know, something different? And when I say I'm thinking about this, I remember this coming up a year or two ago, and he had to pay. He had to pay back something, and he did. When they told him, "So you did such and such," he said, "Okay, I'll pay it back," and he did. So why they're coming after him like this is the politics of wickedness to hurt, I believe, more or less him, yeah, but to hurt the current governor who's running for office again, and that's what I believe is happening. Yeah. So we'll keep him in our prayers, him and his family, and hopefully it'll be successful.
Brother Ma'am, could you just, we have a new Supreme Court judge, and could you just give us your thoughts about this new Judge, that during the hearings, you know, during the hearings when she was being confirmed or whoever it is, some of the questions that were asked about her seemed to us, you know, seemed to me that it was racially motivated. So could you just talk about, even in the highest level of the courts, race is still a very big issue, and if and how it affects the court system, and it's still there, it's still present. They try to put the best construct in it, but you could clearly see it was still a huge racial issue.
Yes,
so,
yes. Justice, who will be, she I think is when the end of this term is when she'll be actually sworn in. But she's a judge, and Brown, Judge Brown, and they address the issue of her being first this, first that, and first the other, which brings into the context of race. It plays into that. And it allows, because you bring that into a picture, there's a place for recognizing one's race in the context of something. But in this case, and I think from the side of the African American leadership, I would say, ran more on, even from the presidency, they pressed him, quote unquote, before he became president, that they would put, quote unquote, a black woman recommended to the Supreme Court. That made it open up to where the other side could use race, because you introduce it as a race issue. And instead of looking for votes, they say, I'm going to be looking for a qualified person, and I think a woman should be that one there. And if I become president, I will work to have a woman do that. Now, in your heart of heart and mind, you know you're looking for someone qualified from the African American community, based on the history of America and so forth and so on. And, you know, politically it's going to help you, but the wisdom should have been that if you had to address that at all, that you're going to be looking for the best qualified female that you think would be correct for that court. But when you introduce it as a quote-unquote black circumstance, then you allow the race baiting to enter the play. It's the same as the issue that is on the table now of the historical facts of America, and all of us as Americans, formerly enslaved and etc., to be able to give a full history account of how America became one of the most richest and powerful nations in the world. And to be able to give that in a format that is inclusive of all the things that made that happen, rather than dressing up in a title that opens you up for your enemy who don't want that truth to be laid out, with this, what do they call it, race theory or something? Critical race theory. I mean, just the word added in front, critical. I mean, you know, these are catchphrases. And maybe the lady who did it got some advice from somebody else on titling this that way, which lost it, you know, just that itself. All right. So it's a way to address the history of America, which is factual and true, and in an educational setting, so that people can benefit from it. So the same thing with the Judge Brown. I think it should never been introduced as the first black woman this, the first black one that. No, a qualified female who has shown by her credentials and her lifelong work that she's worthy of sitting in the highest court as a justice. And then you can talk about the fact that the justice who is stepping down, that her history is tied to that justice as a clerk, so forth and so on, her brilliance. You can question her, those panels. Then they would have been stuck to question her on her judgeships and how she came to conclusions, etc. But once you introduced her race factor, then that allowed them to go down another road. So who set that really up? Was it them, or was it those who claimed they with her? Why did you put her in, quote unquote, a black box, rather than in a human excellence box for her human excellence demonstrated in applying the law of the land. See, that's the difference why they don't want us to address or give advice or be involved. Because this is the language that brings peace. This is the language that calms the waters. You know, let me put it this way. Okay, white folks, calm down, take it easy. You know, we're not going to be what's naming you. And black folks, revolutionary, what's name, calm, put your revolutionary flag away for right now. You know, they got their flag, or you got just take it easy. Somebody's got to be a mediator in between this. You know, they got some sober-minded sense and looking out for the best of humanity and for the best of America, that we want the best. That's all we want, is the best. And none of you are less. All right? And you can address in a format issues of past so that we can correct those issues of past and come to an agreement. These issues of past that was done and the manner in which they were done did not bring America forward. It's going to set America back. We must find a way to address it from a balanced perspective with respect to each other who are here today as compared to what our past ancestors did or didn't do. That's al-Islam. I'm getting nothing but from the spirit of Islam, the spirit of the book of God, the Quran, and the life of the prophet, because he had to deal with all of these things. He had to deal with all these things. So in terms of Judge Brown, we pray that she will have a very successful, be a very successful justice for the Supreme Court, and we hope that more people, that the court should be about the law of the land and not Republican or Democrat. It should be about people who have proven in their work that whatever the case is, as lawyers, as judges, etc., they can apply the law correctly and also look at the law that has been being applied and be able to say among themselves, this law was applied this way, which has happened to America, but it's wrong. And we need to recognize the service of these people as citizens. So we need to change the rule that says we have authority to do so. We need to change it. If we don't, we need to recommend it to the Congress to change the Constitution and amendments. That's where we get amendments from, that we have been carrying out a law that's been unjust and unfair, and we need to address it. So here comes your 15th Amendment and the 10th Amendment, different amendments you had that come through. Human beings make errors and mistakes. That's we human beings. But when we see the damage that is hurting the whole society, then we go back and we try to correct it by removing or adding protections so that how it was applied before, that is not applied now. So congratulations to her for being successful and making it through that gauntlet that you were talking about of questions that had nothing to do with her judgeships, but more with her skin color and her culture and etc. And I'm gonna do this. It's a little humorous, but her man, a white man, didn't help her none. for the color conscious folks, you know, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know, if you love each other, you're comfortable with it, and they got children and everything else, then that's the person's choice. And this is where we have lost it in society, that we don't want to give people their space of privacy. Right. We come to a time where ain't no privacy. We want to know everything. Knock down every door. Go in every what's the name. No respect for private matters. Even the issue of people who are choosing to behave in a manner or live in a manner that would be anti our religion and other religions too, for that matter. But if they choose to do so as a private matter, you know, then it's not my concern. It's when you're going to bring your behavior into the public. You know, again, you can walk around your house in your birthday suit all you want, as long as you ain't got the windows wide open, where we from outside got to look in. You know, that's the private matter. So whatever you do behind your closed door, even with your family at home and your children, etc., the rule, you know, that you don't go into mommy's and daddy's bedroom while they're in that bedroom. You don't go in there at all, actually, without asking permission. That's just what it is. So it is for people choosing to live their lives in a private way and what have you, well, that's your private business. The only way it impacts me is when you force me in the public realm, you bring it out, and now force me to make a decision, because that's not, your private life is not the way I live mine, and I ain't putting mine out there, and you shouldn't be putting yours out there neither. But once you do take it outside the house, if you walk outside that house in your birthday suit, me naked, well, now you're in violation. You're violating all of us. And there's laws that say they need to call the police and lock you up. But as long as you're naked in your house, nobody got nothing to say to you, unless no people in your house complain about it. But other than that, you what's the name? But we have lost the sense of privacy, which was a great value that America had, which was a great value. The sense of people having the right to have their private life and their private situation protected at all costs. So praise be to God.
I would like to speak about, Imam, the war in Ukraine. I mean, it's been on the media every day. But why, as we as a country are involved, and what do you think would be a resolve to this war?
Well, as we know, there's a lot that's at stake, because the world has been made one world. We're all interconnected on this planet Earth. We couldn't see it before, but we can see it now because God has opened the eyes of technology to us. And there's no place on the planet where instantly going through these technologies, you can pull it up right away and see it just as clear as it can be. Satellites, thousands, 100,000 up there, can zoom in on a minute on any, used to be remote location, ain't remote no more. Even down deep into the ocean, and etc. So we're living in a time that God has ushered in, that man ain't so easy to start fighting with each other and arguing with each other and killing each other, because you're so interconnected and so dependent upon the natural resources that all of us need. And in this case, the easy identification is oil, gas, energy situations, productions of goods, clothing, foods, everything you can think of. The world has become one world order. And you don't have the luxury of staying mad at each other for a long period of time, because I get mad at you today, but then I go knock on your door. Do you got that? Can you turn the water on? Can you ship me this over here now, and what have you? So this is what seems what's name, but this is God's doing. Yes. He made us wake up. So now y'all playing a game here on my earth, and I made it to where you all intertwine. You all need to trade and do with each other in order to sustain your economies. And now it's going to make it difficult for you just to jump out and start killing each other and what have you, and bombing and doing these things, because it's going to have a ripple effect. Right. So you start going in America and Afghanistan, Libya, some of the smaller countries, just went in there without no UN approval or nothing, under some false pretense, and did that. The rest of the world, big governments, China, Russia, this one, that one, they stood up and, wait a minute, hold up here, India, what are you doing? We got commerce with them. You're messing up our commerce. Right. And what have you, and you're being a bully. Right. You're being a bully. So now, here you got the government of Russia there, who's trying to make its muscle, what's the name, and you surrounding it with all your folks, and they're like, wait a minute here, you crowding us out, and what have you, and then they lose it and say, well, we're just going to fight, kill, and war, and do everything. But now you let that happen. And now you're afraid to get directly in it because you got nuclear weapon, they got nuclear weapon, and between the 10 of you idiots, you've been and blew everybody up. And then there's no economy, no nothing. So this is serious matter. That God ain't absent. God is never absent. And until mankind respects that, you didn't unify your need with each other. You think you did, but God made technology available. You used it to unify and come closer together. America was buying all kinds of stuff from Russia. Russia buying all kinds of stuff from America. India, China, Japan, all of these major countries in Europe, all of Europe and all of that. It's all intertwined now. So it's so easy to just start throwing a brick at Philip. I might miss him and hit you because it's so crowded. Right. In terms of that. So this is the stupidity of the ignorance of hatred. Yes. The ignorance of greed. Look what it leads to. You're so greedy for something that you ain't realizing that you start to blow me over here. Wait a minute. Our gasoline price went up. Well, our gasoline price doing going up, right. And you way over there fighting. So people need to wake up to say, hey, gasoline, you're going, and they use it, say, well, let's use it politically to get somebody out of office. Right. Let's make up inflation and inflate everything. And how you inflate everything? Hold it off the market. And then Saudi Arabia, they ain't no good. So Saudi said, well, why should I help you by pumping more oil? So here you are, all you're interconnected, all you need one another, and this is the time of judgment. We're living in the time of judgment, that everything must be unfolded before the final judgment to see this thing for what it is. And that's the time we're living in, and thank God for Ramadan, because it gives us a sober picture to look at. Look how these folks are acting like 5-year-olds. Excuse me, 5-year-olds, I'm going to take it back, because y'all got more sense than they got. Right. They're acting like some folks that don't have no intelligence at all. And when you look at the news, it insults your intelligence if you're sober. Right. What they make, and they hit you with all this stuff, then all of a sudden they'll put the commercial on, this is filthy and nasty. Okay, bet now, and gamble and give your money away, and here's the cards going, flash colors and everything else. Then down the bottom, make sure you see the Gamblers Anonymous, dial 857-429. What the heck? Like, where are we living in here? That the intellect is dead? Intelligent reasoning is gone? Everybody's drunk on something? We live in a society that all drunk. Drunk on greed, drunk on power, drunk on drugs, drunk on anything they can think of to not hold on to their right mind and obedience to God the Creator. Because you'll wipe yourself out, but the earth ain't going nowhere. That's right. So in terms of that, the sadness of seeing people dying and what have you, and then the thing about it, give more importance to this one's murdering each other rather than the same thing happening in Sudan and all parts of Africa and then in Latin countries, people trying to walk through deserts and walk through lizards and poison snakes and everything else to try to get somewhere where they can have a better life because you didn't went in there and disturbed the economy. This is ugly. This is an ugly situation. And during this time of religious reflection of the Christians and the Easter and Jews and the Passover, you need to think about what those things mean. What is Passover? What is this Easter thing? What is Ramadan? What is these things about? And have a bigger voice into this picture than silence we can't be no more. There's holiness the Pope over there. He's trying to talk up and speak. Others are trying to talk up and speak, but they won't give them that coverage. I don't care if you have 5 million people out there; they'll turn the camera somewhere else. Right. So we got to use our own situation. So it's sad, but it's Judgment Day. It's Judgment time. Fair dealings must come back, and it probably wasn't here before. But fair dealings is the order of the day. You have to deal fairly with me. I got to deal fairly with you. I have to respect you. You have to respect me. And all the things we all need food, clothing, and shelter. We all need a way to make a decent living. We all need rules that we can obey. That are rules that are balanced for all of us. Not a rule just for you and you're rich and powerful and a rule for me who's poor. No, the rules must have the same. I need to walk into court if I made an error mistake as though I got 5 lawyer firms that I'm paying $10, $50, $50. I need to be treated the same way like those lawyers are standing with me as the person who got that money. What's the name? That's justice. So we live in a time that these things must be seen. They can't be hidden no more. And seeing the ignorance and stupidity of what we call educated people and etc. who are in politics and in power. And I don't know how much they think they can collect, how much money they're going to keep, what they're going to do, how many boats, how many ships, how many houses, how many whatever that they have. I know one thing. you can't use but one toilet at a time. So why you got 12 bathrooms in there? I have the same idea. Why you got 12 different bathrooms? We use some kind of toilet tester or something. I don't know, but inshallah, God willing, I guess they'll use them. Now, I'll install them for them if they want them. I'll put them in, baby. Inshallah, God willing. So alhamdulillah. Thank you. I think I answered that question. Go ahead, Philip.
Could I just turn to something else that most people seem to want to relate to, and the entertainment industry, right? What is it about the entertainment industry why they always seem to have a very, very difficult time with issues like privacy, decency, and family values? Most recently they had the Oscar Awards, and here we thought is okay, he's a decent entertainer, he's going to win a huge award, and he gets up on stage and he does something kind of disgraceful. He slaps another entertainer in the face, goes back into the seat, and yells profanity. We don't know the details as to what caused it, but we know what was done, and the actions is just discredit his whole, whatever good he had going for him, took it all away. For the actor Will Smith.
Yes.
But almost every single entertainer that we know of, especially of African American descent, they always run into an issue with privacy, decency, or family issues. They're always, could you just talk about what is it so attractive and the downside of the entertainment industry that probably caused them to have some of these issues and concerns, and why people still want to see that as ideal when it's clearly that it has some traps laid in it?
I don't know. I hear you. Yeah, but I'm not in the entertainment business. At least I don't think I am. The fact on how what you just call entertainment is structured and the history of it is corrupt. It's corruption, and it's always had that air about it of going to the extreme and feeding the extremes in its presentation. And it has made Hollywood and what have you one of the biggest purveyors of pornography, biggest purveyors of promoting racism and hatred among people, the biggest purveyors of sickness and what have you before the cameras, perpetrators of promoting hatred and wrongdoing and etc., and then called it entertainment, and called it that, oh, we bringing you the reality. Well, as I said before, it violates any sense of privacy, and when you won't let them into your doors like newspapers and people do, others do, and put you on the thing and say, well, we tried to get him, he didn't answer back by the time this thing was in, so we're going to say what we want to say. And that was the threat that you made, that if you don't give us an interview, then we'll say what we want to say. And we got millions of viewers, so we'll shape the opinion. Even with this man who's accused of this subway thing that was done here, you tell me how is he going to have what you call a fair trial in any kind of way? When you did everything possible to the point where, say he's the wrong guy, but you didn't put so much stuff out that you're not going to retract back that we got the wrong guy, unless it's 25 years later. And we're getting a lot of that now with a group of decent people who looks into these cases, and how many men in particularly unfortunately men of African descent or color have been let free after 18 years, 20 years, 25 years, 27 years on things they were never guilty of because they just didn't have the financial wherewithal to have representation and do the research to show it. So Hollywood is a perpetrator, and its aim is filth. The more filthy, look at these short TV things you got on. Filth. Fighting on TV, I don't want to say these names, but just savagery. And people laughing and what have you, like that's, what's the name? And I remember a young lady told me once that she was on one of those shows, and I said, you on the show? I said, yeah, they told us what to do. So we start fighting, we start doing this and that. I said, you kidding me? She said, yeah, no, they paid us. So how much they pay you for just giving away your what's your name like that? What is it, 20, 21 a day? And then we go do it. Start fighting and pull each other hair and everything else over some boy of some sort for entertainment. And people want to see that. I mean, this is insane. Baby, mama, baby, you know, all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And then I like, what in the world has we come to here? And unfortunately, most of when we see them in those kind of shows, it's predominantly our folks, and they get paid 50 cents, and they do these things, and don't have no idea of the long-term effect of this when you do come to your sober mind and you get a little older. That's in the record. It's like they did with this man they're accusing. Went back and supposedly put up all his postings, whatever he did, and using all that against him.
Yeah.
But yet they said he seen his picture somewhere and sitting in McDonald's, and you can tell he was eating in there because you can see how big he is, you know, what have you. And he hey, I think y'all looking for me.
Right.
Well, yeah, I'm in Mickey D's. You know, don't come too early. I got to finish this burger. You know. And then he ran on down with the things and everything else. He waiting for him, and he cool. He just, what's the name? And he ain't said nothing. And he may be the person. But look what you had done to poison the well of justice. To make yourself look good. See, we did it. No, it's thorough investigation and everything. When they said, well, no, he called y'all.
Right.
So where's the thorough investigation? Right. You know, I mean, you know, well, no, in that fact, he knew we was closing in on him.
Anything.
I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Grown-ups, just to cover, you know, that you didn't, what is this? And then they supposedly, according to them, they show some guy look like a train worker with masks and everything else on and say, that's him. Well, I mean, yeah, I see the guy you said got now, they don't look like him, you know, kind of thing. But it's just amazing how they just run us down this field, and we're not sober enough, as we are, as Muslims, looking at this and say, I'm not going to move, but let me look at this here. But you'll never be on the jury for this guy, you know, and what have you. And it's horrible. I mean, that whoever did it, whether it's this person or not, but the idea of when you get somebody, right away to justify that you got the right person, go and dig through their whole life, and when his mother was changing his diaper, he didn't like it. We got it on film. You know, anything they can do to negatively push this, and then the so-called media goes right along with it. So how is he going to find some kind of what's in it? Yeah, and if he did something like this, and homeless, whatever it is, then you know, you got a situation. And like I said, you're on the media and you're saying this, and they go right back to use that you see, we got him, he must be guilty. I seen another one, which is another horror situation. Well, I forgot what state it was in. That for another car stop or something, for tail light or whatever it was, and now the boy dead, if I remember right. I think he's dead. You know what I'm saying? And jump on him and tell him you stop resisting. So use language that's supposed to be justified that, see, I thought my life was in danger, like that. He said, man, for God, what's all this ruckus? He said, I heard a voice saying, I was resisting you, bam! Shot him, kill him. Over what? Over what? Then you're going to drag it out forever. 2 years from now, until what's the name, to come back with something that's unjust. No. So again, we're in this time of seeing all these things. Not before our eyes. So much so that they try to onslaught us with it to where you want to turn away from it. But you can't. You have to find unity with each other to be able to address these things, to help people not be frightened by this. And Al-Islam is the greatest protection you can have, because Al-Islam requires conscious behavior. Al-Islam does not accept you unconsciously, or if you're mentally off balance, you cannot come into this religion. You must know what you're doing. It's a religion based upon the knowledge, consciousness, and innocent pursuit. And that's the success we have. So praise be to God.
That's what I had him up.
All right. So then I like to say one thing, close out this. Philip, you had asked me the last time we were here, and you asked me a question that this was the sheet I was looking for in terms I did in the Juma about leadership and what have you. And I want to repeat it because this is important for our community, but for understanding leaders, period, in terms of this time and who you're following and what have you and why. And this is from Imam W.D. Muhammad. And he says it is important, talking about following leadership, that it is important that since we are identifying, and as we interview and do these things, we are coming from a identification, how we identify our lives. That since we are identifying as a community, that we be consistent. That's what community means. You have schools of thoughts in our religion. You have followers of different imams, different scholars, and these people tend to group together. And when you go to their group, you expect some kind of consistency, don't you? So, when people look at us from the outside, they say, oh, they belongs to that group that emerged out of or evolved out of the old Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And their leader now, his son, is Imam Wahiduddin Muhammad. So they expect us to be consistent. And when they come to your masjids and find you following some book you got off the shelf and find another imam following a different book, they say, quote, that community is in shambles. They say, quote, they don't have any organization. They don't have any leadership. This is a bad reflection on us, is it not? It is. We should be consistent. Now, what does that require to be consistent? It requires that we follow our leader and that we don't use material unless he knows our leader approved of it. Unless we know our leader approved of it. That was the answer I was looking for you in that earlier segment and what have you. Because the whole idea of the unification of sighting the moon, the Helio, was all about unification. We in the East, we know we'll see the moon sighting before you because the sun sets here first before yours. But I don't post it up on the masjid website or anything else. I wait with respect of the unity across the whole country. So because of last California, so I have to stay up at 11:30 at night, just to hold the unity. Now, when it happens and we see it here, you got Brother Philip and Brother Tariq and others will go and look, and if you see it, you'll let me know you've seen it. So therefore, the time 11:30 at night coming, you didn't got into the Tariq prayers and etc. You already it's in. All right, but we don't put it on the bullhorn until we get everybody. That's about unity. That's all it's about. It's about a sense of unification with each other, that we're consistent in following a leader, and that's all it's ever been about in terms of that. So this is the thing that we need to understand, and I'm going to do this as quick as I can. I should do it in another segment. Did we do 2 segments already or 3? 3. We did, so I'm going to have to try to get this in. And you all, I would tell them break, put the music back on, and come back on again. It'll be 4 segments. And I might actually still do that because this is important here that I'm going to read from Imam W. Muhammad so that we don't lose the people's attention. Yes. All right, so we may close out. I'm going to say I'm closing out on this segment, and we thank you for, again, tuning in with us. We thank Brother Philip and Sister Marsha always for their questions and their studying of the issues and what have you. And we pray to God that as we try our best to give you from Islamic perspective, our Islamic perspective in our life as African Americans, indigenous to our country, that we say nothing to offend you. It's not intent to offend you, but only to give you our perspective, and hopefully it helps in some kind of way. So we thank you, and we ask that God's peace be upon you, and this holy and sacred month of Ramadan for us. And we say Ramadan Mubarak and Assalamu alaikum.